about it. I've written about the Russian mafia laundering money through Donald Trump's real estate. And I found FBI files regarding that going back to 1984. This is the Semion Mogilevich gang and his subordinates in the Russian mafia. They went into Trump Tower, put down $6 million in cashes in 1984. I don't want to speak specifically to that, but it seemed that the FBI had a lot of information about this. There were at least 13 members of the Russian mafia who bought condos in Trump Tower or owned them. The Russian mafia is tied to Russian intelligence. It seems to me that's a huge intelligence threat. Were you aware of that? Other people in the FBI had to be aware of it, but they never acted on it.
This is a red flag. And the FBI, the Field Intelligence Group, was most certainly aware of what was going on and where some of these high-risk individuals were. With counterintelligence investigations, especially in the 1980s, the FBI was still new to these sorts of things. The FBI didn't really formalize the national security. They bifurcated into a national security branch and a criminal investigative branch after 9/11. What happens is the Russian intelligence service figured out that by swimming close to people that are extremely high profile, high net worth, or politically connected, they were able to evade a level of scrutiny. And that may have put people into a two-tier category. You had the untouchables, and they had everybody else.
But at a certain point, what is the point of having all this information if it's never acted upon? And were there people in the FBI who didn't want to pursue this? I was thinking, for example, Trump Tower in New York. It was the crown jewel of his empire. He lived there for many years before Mar-a-Lago and before becoming president. And you had all these Russian mafiosi there. The FBI had to know that. Were you aware of it personally?
Yeah, I wasn't specifically. I worked with New York quite a lot on a lot of my overlapping investigations from the LA area and even the San Diego area.
Isn't there a risk there? The case of Whitey Bulger was quite famous, and there were a couple of movies made about it, The Departed. And Whitey Bulger was an informant for the FBI, who was head of the Winter Hill Gang in Boston. He was a mobster himself, and he went on killing people while he was an FBI informant, and the FBI seemed to just look the other way, or they allowed him to get away with it. It seems to me you have an even bigger case because Donald Trump became president of the United States. And wasn't he infected by his relations with the Russian mobsters?
He certainly was. And that case you bring up about Whitey Bulger is an incredibly important case because it shows that the FBI is really quick to get addicted to lucrative intelligence that's coming out from a source relationship. And in many cases will look the other way, and the source will be able to get away committing criminal activity. In that case, the FBI agent actually started to facilitate the criminal activity. When it comes to obstructing the activity, they fall short. That was one of my issues. So there's certain things, even though the FBI doesn't have the authority, they have to use the U.S. Attorney's Office to get an arrest warrant or a search warrant. They can still disrupt criminal activity. They can do interviews, they can do threat briefings, and change the behavior of criminal targets or principals of defense contracting companies who are targeted by foreign adversaries. So I was starting to do a lot of these threat briefings with some of these people who are being heavily targeted